We're going to be diving into the saga of the biggest issue that has affected E-drum sets for the past, I don't know how many years. There's one Achilles heel that always brings it down. You can buy a $5,000 E-drum set, and it's the hi-hat. It sucks. They've sucked for so long. Everybody knows they suck. They don't respond. There's so many different sounds that have to happen from an actual hi-hat that it's so hard to replicate. And what they do is they try to replicate the actual motion of the hi-hat, the two cymbals banging together, and it doesn't work. Triggers, it doesn't trigger, it false triggers. But here's the plot twist. I've been hearing rumors that they have actually come out with something that has fixed this. I've been hearing from my students, several of them have actually bought this new hi-hat fix. Is it actually a new set of hi-hats for the E-Kid?
It's as close to an acoustic feel, hi-hat setup feel, as I can imagine.
Been reading online about it, that it actually does fix it. Just simply cannot believe it until I actually see it and hear it for myself.
All my students talk about it. This fixes the hi-hat, this is, and I'm like, I do not believe it. Might as well have been saying, why don't we send you Bigfoot? Because I don't believe that it's gonna fix it. But maybe.
Big guy, you wanna play with us? I'm gonna put this ball right here, and you run up and give it a big old kick. Come on.
A couple weeks ago, Sweetwater contacted me. They said, hey, would you be down to do a video on the VH14D, the proposed solution, if we send you this bad boy? So I told him I would do a video, but I didn't tell him I would do a good video on it. The bad boy they were referring to is this Roland V-Drum TD27KV Generation 2 E-Drum Kit. Why do we name it that? It's like an R2-D2 of drumming. Anyway, so they wanted to send me that. $3,500. And the hi-hat ruins the whole thing. Now, what actually got being sent because of supply chain issues, first version of this, first generation, so Roland V-Drums TD27KV version 1 instead of generation 2.
The problem is you set it up for a left-handed player. For a left-handed player. That's why it's all messed up and we can't get it even.
And you can update the brain. There's a little bit of a different look in the toms, but essentially the same. You can get the first generation for $2,700, second generation for $3,500. This is a lot of money to pay for it to have a crap hi-hat. And the thing that they wanted to send me was the supposed solution, and that is the Roland V-Pad VH14. Here we go again with this. Roland V-Pad VH14D digital hi-hat controller. So this remains to be seen whether this is going to actually be a good video or a bad video. Because in real time, you're gonna be checking these new proposed hi-hat solutions out with me. I just took everything out of the box. Like, they're still sitting here. I haven't hooked them up at all. Let's check these out and see if I'm still gonna be asking Roland to take a long jump off a short cliff, or if I'm gonna be inviting them to my son's graduation. There's no in between here. One of the reasons I'm so passionate about this is because I have had countless student calls. I do student calls every week with my members where we have had to discuss E-drum sets and the hi-hat.
What I've discovered is that the hi-hat pedal seems to have a little bit of a dead zone.
Question about working around the issue of having an electronic drum kit and trying to work the hi-hat.
More electronic hi-hat stuff.
Hello, Stephen and gang. The hi-hat pedal center is hit or miss. I read somewhere that it's best to get an E-kit with a real hi-hat rather than one with a disembodied pedal.
This question comes up all the time.
Then I started hearing this rumor that, hey, there's this fix out, but it's $1,200, but it actually works. So I've had 3 or 4 students buy it and they're like, yeah, matter of fact, this is amazing. Made my whole E-drum kit work. So now maybe we can spend $4,000 on an E-drum set and it actually work how it's supposed to. And as a teacher that has worked with thousands of students around the world, I'm sick of the discussion. Not only my students, you can look up Reddit threads. What components of an acoustic drumming do you feel an E-kit cannot replicate? How do you supplement this or work on these areas? For example, hi-hat on an acoustic kit is gonna have much more responsive. The hi-hat is what I have the most problems with. I can't seem to figure out how to get a shaft tip hi-hat technique to work on my kit. Drives me nuts. Pedal has an issue where I have to hold my foot all the way down just to make sure that the open hi-hat sound doesn't get triggered, but it always does, no matter what. From OK Rock 8415, we've got hi-hat. Okay, but not as responsive as a real thing. Seems to be a near universal complaint with E-kits. I've not played any electronic hi-hats that feel even moderately like real hi-hats. The hi-hat is probably a deal breaker if there isn't a better solution. And then we go into threads and threads of, oh, we just gotta calibrate it. It doesn't feel right, but if you calibrate it right.
Every seventh conductor being connected by a non-reversible tremie pipe to the differential girdle spring on the up end of the gram meters.
I'm not making this up. Just looking at the hi-hat that came with this R2D2 TD27 kV something kit. I mean, you look at it. It doesn't look like a hi-hat. There's no bottom hat to it, and yet they're gonna try to make it function like that. Then we have the foot pedal down here. At this point, why don't we just separate the two if we're not gonna have a bottom hi-hat and re-engineer this thing because it doesn't look like one, doesn't function like one. In the end, it's just a big steaming turd that comes with this $3,500 drum set. This is unacceptable to continue to do this, but let's see if we actually have a solution. All right, let's read about the digital hi-hat trigger you've been waiting for. Latest in Roland's illustrious line of blah, blah, blah. Mount the VH14D to your favorite hi-hat stand using the included accessories, and you're fully supported for pumping time.
I want to bump you up.
A natural hi-hat play support, open closed play, foot splash, the bow edge shot, choke. Oh wow, you can actually choke these two with your hand. I want to be very clear with everyone. I'm always as transparent as possible. Sweetwater is sponsoring this video in that they sent me this e-drum set so that I could specifically check out the Roland V-Pad VH14D. So they did send me the V-Pad and they sent me these V-drums to be able to test them out. I put the links for this Roland V-drums TD27 KV Generation 1 and Generation 2, as well as the Roland V-Pad VH14D digital hi-hat controller. I put those links in the video description. All right, so immediately upon playing this hi-hat that came with this almost $3,000 drum set, they're awful, like every other hi-hat that comes with drum sets. It's not that they don't make sounds when you hit them. If you open them wide, they make an open sound. If you close them, they make a closed sound. It's that the amount of pressure I have to apply to my foot to actually close this hi-hat is ridiculous for the sensors to be able to sense it. Then whenever I go to open them, the variations between open and close, it's like stair steps. It's like you're stepping 3 steps instead of 1, 2, 3 steps. You're just going from closed to automatically open, and if you hit anywhere in between, it's either gonna go open or close. There's no in between. This makes any type of real-time playing with finesse or nuance almost impossible. In addition to that, whenever you go to open the hi-hat, some of the notes are being lost whenever you hit the hi-hat, so it's not triggering all of them whenever they're open. To me, the hi-hat is not even in the same ballpark as, say, the snare drum on this kit or the toms on this kit.
Maybe I put it together for a left-handed player. Okay.
All right, that seems fine. I'm so tired, it's been 2 days.
There's so many cables like in this shot right here. There's just, you can barely see the floor.
Okay, great. All right, so let's, done. Now process. Uh-oh.
It's like calibrating.
Complete.
Whoa.
Look at that, man. I'll have to admit, I wasn't expecting much from these hi-hats. I've been let down way too many times by drum set manufacturers. But when I started playing these hi-hats, they felt more like an acoustic hi-hat. It responded to me the way an acoustic hi-hat responds. Whenever I would make little nuanced adjustments, it went with me. There's really no loss of notes when it came to playing consecutive notes in a row. It still captures the notes whenever I open it up, even if I'm playing a somewhat quick pattern. The variations between closed and open is much wider, so we can stair step it. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 6, instead of going from 1 to 3 to 6, the way normal E-kit hi-hats do. One of the major things about this was the sensitivity to the foot. So with this hi-hat, I'm not having to actually stand up on the hi-hat to get it to recognize it's closed. If I have my foot actually just sitting on the footboard. So what you get as a player is in real time, as you're thinking about how you're going to play play something, it's actually responding to that. The only hiccup I had was actually not having played them enough. Similar to playing a different hi-hat stand that you're not accustomed to, it's gonna open a little bit differently. It's gonna close a little bit differently. The hi-hats may be a little bit further apart than you're used to. But after playing on this for a couple minutes, it's the closest replica to a real hi-hat that I've ever seen. I would practice with this hi-hat. I would play with this hi-hat. My last E-kit, I actually sold it because I didn't want it in the studio because I got really frustrated with it. This one, we're gonna keep around. I'll go ahead and say it. I'm actually flabbergasted and somewhat speechless with how well this replicates an acoustic hi-hat. So if it actually fixed the issue, now we have to deal with this other thing of it's $1,200. Okay, we have to really compare this apples to apples instead of apples to oranges. So let's actually go on a little shopping spree here and put in our cart everything we would need for the exact kit that I'm playing today versus everything we would need for a comparable acoustic kit. To me, this level of E drum set is the equivalent of like a Tomastar Classic or maybe a the Ludwig Fab 4. So let's go with a Ludwig Fab 4 setup. We got the Ludwig Classic Maple Fab 22-inch kick drum and 2 toms. That's it. Added to the cart. I swear while I'm doing this, Sweetwater's gonna like come through my door and be like, hey, I noticed you were on the website. I just drove down here to check out, you know. Brain candy. So a similar setup with an acoustic drum set is going to be $5,577.93, free shipping. All right, let's take the things out that we don't need for the E-kit. So we're at like $5,600 for an acoustic kit. Removing the things that I don't need. So let's look at the damage we've done here as to if this is actually more expensive or if this is a more economical solution than acoustic drums. Because once you get those acoustic drums, you've also got to replace drum heads and. That's not the case with the E-drum kit. I'm just saying they have different strengths. Look at this. $4,124. We're like $1,500 below what we were with the acoustic setup. Now, we could upgrade this to the new Gen 2, $4,924. We're still $500 or $600 below what a similar acoustic drum set setup would be. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Check out this video where I talk about my 5 reasons why E-kits are better than acoustic drum kits.